Good evening and welcome to the broadcast as we're going to have more interviews for you tonight here on KM Activities. Your home for the Komets. Nick Pocius is with us. He's the head coach for the boys basketball team for Casa Maryville. I do want to give a shout out to KM Telecom for being our major sponsor for all interviews taking place throughout the winter season. I'm Joel McCall. First of all, Coach, thank you very much for joining me after practice.
Not a problem. Sorry, so late.
No, don't worry about that. The boys come off at 2-3. Had a difficult loss, I would say, against South St. Paul. Played well. Well enough, I thought, to win. Just a couple of struggles. Jace goes off for 24. Alex Jennison, I know you told me, a double-double, then 10 and 12. Really, that game, tight defense, especially from them. The Packers played some great defense against you. What would you say the game overall? How would you put it in your words from the other night?
I think it's a game of turnovers again. I mean, it's been our Achilles heel all season. And it's part of this because we're still learning some things. Some of the guys have some, basketball and they're a little bit battle tested under their belts, but some guys aren't. And I think we have to work out some of those kinks right now. It's 5 games in, so we're not too concerned. If we're having 26 turnovers in a game, which is what we had against South St. Paul in February, then we can have a different conversation. But I'm not, too upset about it. I think there's a lot of good things that came from it, and we played great defense. That team was averaging over 80 points a game. We challenged them to do that. They had to earn a lot of their points. I would say there was a couple situations where I think their top score got a little too easy to the rim. But outside of that, we made them work, and they did not expect to have that kind of battle from us. And our kids never stopped, fighting. We gave up, and it never gave up, and we hit key shots at the end. But then when we got our momentum back, I think we got it within about 3 minutes left. We had some untimely turnovers. And that's a perfect opportunity to learn. Like, we're gaining the momentum. Let's not be loose with the ball. Let's take care of the ball and have an efficient offensive possession and get the best shot possible. Doesn't mean it's going to go in, but there's the best shot possible.
Yeah.
Instead, we threw it away and we didn't even have the ball.
I agree with you on that. Turnovers, it's the thing I wrote down right after that, too, was in my notes, was turnovers having to be in the real issue for the whole season. And you and I spoke right before the ball game, too, saying, okay, we can't do this, can't do that. Just little things of where you are on the court and learning those situations and not going in the corner and stopping your dribble or, not or go to the middle if they're pressing you and that kind of stuff. How can you manage that in practice? How do you put together game situations in practice so they can learn?
Yeah, we did it today. And leading up to this time, it's nice that we're doing it this early in the season because, in other seasons I've coached in other places, we haven't been able to do this stuff until later because that's just where we're at in our development. So I would say that's a good sign. But, yeah, we just have to create the situations where we put a score on the clock, put a time on the clock. How do you manage the situation and kind of turn it a little bit over to the players to help with their decision making? And if there's a bad decision, we stop and we discuss why did you do that? What would we have done differently? And then do it again. I think today we went into triple overtime because we just kept battling back and forth, which is good. And I think we learned some things there. And there was some definite emphasis on valuing the ball in those crunch situations. Because in every game we've been in, every single game we've played, and when it's come down to those crunch times is where we have made our mistakes, and that's the area we need to keep brushing up on.
Yeah, and had that close game against Cannon Falls as well, 64-53. Another game where you're right in it. And you had a couple of wins. I really wanted to talk about those too. Wins over Red Wing as well as Simley. What were the keys in those wins, Coach?
I think just quite the opposite. We had more ball security. Defensively, we did the same concepts. I think defensively we're becoming pretty stout. But we also hit more shots. Our field goal shooting percentage was higher, and I think some of it comes down to the kids just being relaxed and playing within themselves. I think in these more higher pressure games, some of the guys may have been uncomfortable with the situations, and in turn were a little tighter and didn't let them shoot the ball as freely as they would otherwise. And so I think we need to continue to be exposed to those pressure situations and then shoot the ball without thinking. That's really what it came down to. And so when the more they shoot the ball without thinking, I think the better off that it'll become. In those games, they let it come. We let it flow, and it worked. So it's there. It just needs to we need to keep on that process.
I'm with you. I hear it from coaches all the time, especially when that hesitation. You get the ball, you're open. Don't hesitate. If you hesitate, you're not going to make that shot. You're probably maybe 1 out of 10. If you hesitate, that ball
Yeah,
might actually
absolutely.
go
Just
in.
let it go, and if it doesn't go in, it's a good shot. Nobody's going to be upset.
Correct.
It's a good shot.
That's right. You got it within the offense. That's all
Yep.
that really matters.
Yep.
There has been a couple of guys that I noticed as far as statistics goes where they've played a couple of games and then have been out a couple of games.
Mhm.
Have you been dealing with injuries?
Yes.
Okay, that's one thing I want to know about. One guy that I did write down, Jordan Kern. What's the status of him? Because I know he played a game.
One game.
Yeah, and had some decent numbers out of it,
Yeah.
and then I haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, he's hurt. He tweaked his ankle against Red Wing, so it happened late in the game. So we're hoping he'll be back by the time we go to North Branch next Friday. If not, then we're hoping at the turn of the year. But he needs to be 100%. We don't want to rush it. Just as with Easton, we didn't want to rush that. We needed to make it happen when it needed to happen. So it's a long season. It's a grind. A lot of people, want quick results, and I understand that. It's that kind of society we live in, but it's not the way it goes. Unfortunately, we have to take our time to make sure we're where we're at.
Yep. I agree. The girls are doing the same thing. Just had Coach Harrelson on talking about Maya Seuss. He did get some very good minutes from Jaron Sandino, and I wanted to bring him up because he was on the court quite often against South St. Paul. I thought you got some nice defensive work from him. Got a couple of rebounds, but the kid's got to stay out of foul trouble. Yes. He would have got some more minutes had he been out of foul trouble.
Without a doubt. He knows that firsthand. It was a physical game on Friday. There was a lot of jockeying from the coaching side on both sides, which was kind of fun. But he knows that, and he can be very effective. I've really been proud of Jaron on how we all have been very proud of Jaron, how he's picked up his game on the defensive end. He's doing very well rerunning ball and cleaning up possessions for us, which has been a key to us, having a pretty good defensive output so far. And so, he's going to have an opportunity tomorrow against Lourdes. They're more of a post-dominant team in a sense, maybe with a pretty good guard and then a pretty strong post, and so he's an opportunity to play his defense and be physical, and hopefully he can stay out of that foul trouble. Yeah, for sure. And then you can rotate with him and Jennison, and neither one of them get into foul trouble. Hopefully, you got some great minutes from Alex too. I don't want to discredit what Jennison did the other night. Sure. The other guy I want to mention, of course, because 2 weeks ago I had him on here, Jace Bigelow. Sure. You've watched his progression. Yep. 15 points is all he averaged last year. Now he's well over 25 and staying in that. Yep. Where's that development? How's he been able to do it? And where's he been succeeding the most? He's put a ton of work into himself. I can't disregard that. A lot of these guys in the offseason have to take the time to improve their game. Basketball is a skilled game, so if you want to be good at it, you do have to take the time away from the season to improve. And Jace has certainly been one of the guys to take that advantage. He's also, more comfortable in what we're trying to do in our system, and I think he understands what we expect from him, and I think that's helped him relaxed. If anything, he's one of our players right now who's playing relaxed, and he's playing within himself, and it's showing. And he's doing a nice job setting that example and then leading others and holding them accountable. Jace has a high motor, and I love how he plays, and he's a great leader, and he's a great example of Komet basketball and what we want to keep striving for. Yeah, and he's a guy that you can rely on as far as those points goes. Yep. Of course, he knows that he's going to see the best defensive player in front of him every single night. Yep. Take me through Lourdes, then. You got him tomorrow night. Yep. It's going to be a great game. I know they got upset, I believe, the other night. Maybe it wasn't. Pretty solid. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so maybe not an upset, but certainly they had a great game the other night. Yep. It's going to be a good one when you guys travel over there. Tell me about him. Colin Mead's a great player. He's been there. He's been a freshman varsity. He started since he was a freshman, so he's a 4-year starter. He puts up points. He's strong, physical. He's got plays with a chip on his shoulder. So that'll be tough. And they have a couple perimeter player guards that can shoot the ball. And then they have a strong post inside, a football type player named Ethan Saylor. It'll be a good opportunity for us. I think we can match up with them. It's just about us executing and limiting our turnovers again. And I think more in this game than maybe in our previous games is limiting second chance opportunities. I think if we can clean up the boards, Jaron can get in there and Alex can get in there and rebound. Jace is also a great rebounder as well. I think that'll give us an advantage. And then we're going to execute in the offensive end. Let things come to us. Be relaxed. Play within ourselves. And I think any game is in our opportunity. When we look at our games we've had this year, every game we've had it for ourselves. And in all honesty, we've kind of kicked our own selves in the foot. And it's a nice to be able to say that because those are things we can immediately correct. Right. Not immediately, but in time Correct. I always ask the guys, do we win that? Or did the other team win that game, or do we lose it? And the 3 games we've lost this year, we've lost it. We don't know if the other team straight up beat us, because there's gonna be times when a team just beats us. And hats off to them. They won that battle. That's great. But we want to be in that situation where a team has to beat us, and we're not losing it. Does that make sense?
Yep, I completely agree with you on that. Just don't have those. Again, it's those self-aware turnovers, things like that you can kind of clean up. And then you got a home game against Stewartville Friday. So excited. Get to call a doubleheader. I can't wait for it. What do you know about Stewartville? Because I don't know anything about him.
Well, Will Cheddar, he's a great player. He's a Division I basketball recruit. They have a nice shooter on the outside. I think his name's Peyton Steer. If I'm sorry, Peyton, if that's not your first, or Steer, if that's not your first name. But yeah, those 2 guys are their primary components. They lost a lot from last year. They had a very good team, big team last year, talented guards that could shoot the ball. But with a player like Cheddar in the middle, it's we have to be able to account for that. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think we again can match up with almost any team we face. It's just again, you see my trend here, executing our game plan. As I said in our first interview, we want to be aware of what our opponents are, who they are. But I'm not going to get overwhelmed with the details. We need to be focusing on ourselves and our details. And then when we get that right, then we can start exploring what we can do against our opponents. But right now, it's about us and what we can do to be the best version of KM ball that we can be.
Yeah, got to look in the mirror, figure things out there, and then worry about that other person. I agree with you, and I'm looking forward to it on Friday again.
Fun.
So you guys are at Leward on Tuesday night, just so I'm clear on everything that's on KM activities. So you have to go over to Rochester to check out Leward taking on Castle Maryville, and I guarantee the start time 7:15 because it's a Hiawatha Valley game. And then on Friday night, because it's a doubleheader, we're going to start the broadcast around 5:50. Tip-off is, I believe, 6 o'clock, and then 7:45 will be the girls. The girls, one thing I failed to mention with Coach Haraldson, not that I'm trying to take time away from you, Coach, KM Activities 2 does have the Leward Castle Maryville girls game because it's a home game, so you can check out all that. So now I've confused all the audience. We'll just sign off and call it.
One thing I should mention about Friday is our Braxton Raymond Memorial game.
Perfect.
First annual one. And we're going to do that every year. We're going to try to have it on the game right before we go on break, the home game right before winter break, so we can get some alumni back. And we're just going to honor Braxton, all his contributions that he did to the basketball community and the community beyond basketball, and just honor him as an individual. I believe his family will be here, and it'll be a nice celebration. Part of the proceeds from the concession stand will go towards the Braxton Raven Memorial Fund as well.
Awesome.
So it'll be a good night.
Well, maybe you and I can sit down at a different time prior to that game and talk a little bit about Braxton too.
Sure.
And that way I can run that maybe between the games. So that'd be
great.
perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Nick Pocius with us then. Castle Maryville boys again at Leward Tuesday. Home game against Stewartville starts at 6 o'clock. Thank you again to KM Telecom for being our major sponsor for all interviews. I'm Joel McCall. Thanks for tuning in. Here at KM Activities, your home for the Komets.